Would you kick the baby? This is a question that's been coming up a lot recently. And would you do it? Would you kick the baby? Not just any baby, all right? Slow down. I saw you get a little excited there. You might want to check yourself because I'm not just talking about any baby off the street. I'm talking about the baby. Would you clock that sucker with your foot? Would you make like an NFL kicker and take that thing for a spin? Would you do it? This has been something that's I've been hearing a lot asked recently, and you might be wondering why. Because it's a hypothetical situation, and it's supposed to determine your character. So let me lay it out for you. These are your two options. The first one is tomorrow the world will end, right? Whatever means you want to pick, you pick. But for this one, I'll just say a giant meteor is going to come towards the Earth, and then it's going to blow it all up in an instance. I can't snap with my left hand. But the meteor is going to come, destroy all human life tomorrow. But you have a chance to save it, and that's option two. Option two is you kick a baby in the head, and someone records you doing it and posts it on the internet. It goes super viral. Everyone in the world, all 7 to 8 billion humans, know that you kicked that baby. But there's a catch there too. The baby doesn't feel anything. The baby's fine. So if you're worried about the baby's health, the baby's well-being, no worries. There are no downsides. The baby does not feel it. So, which are you doing? Do you let the world end tomorrow, or do you kick the baby? Not a baby. Again, this isn't an option, an opportunity for you to be like, yeah, I've always wanted to do that. I'm like, no. Listen to the question carefully. It is this specific baby. Now, this has come up a couple times. Remember, last week I said I went to Africa, and a lot of times on these trips where you are part of a tour group, the last day you do a farewell dinner, and everyone got to talking, and I don't know how, but you get to that comfortable spot of a group dynamic where you start laying out these questions to everyone, and this was the one I posed. I heard it on some online dating show, and I was like, all right, this is a good one. Let me throw it out, right? To a bunch of people that you've only known for a little over a week, this is probably a good one to throw out there. So I did. And pretty unanimously, right, the whole group agreed, yes, you should kick the baby. And it was good. It was a healthy conversation, and we all landed, I think, on the right answer. That's right, I'm team kick baby. But recently, hung out with a group of friends, and this was a special group. I don't know if you guys know this, back in 2019, I did a 6-month internship with Intel, and there were me and a bunch of other interns, right? I was part of that, and summer ended, and a bunch of the interns went back to school, right? They only had a 3-month internship, but there were a group of us that had 6-month internships. I also had to go back to school, so I did the internship part-time. I would drive from Davis to Folsom 3 days a week to do that job. And I became friends with some amazing people. And we've kept in touch. Not all of us, but a small group of us. 6 of us. And since then, every few months, we try to do a game night. I don't know if I've talked about it on here. I talked about it on my main channel, where it's like, that's one of those things I look forward to. I talk about as an adult, you have to make your own holidays, right? You have to give yourself dates and activities to look forward to. And this is one of those things I look forward to, is the game nights with this group of guys. But we haven't seen each other since 2019. The last time we saw each other was some day in December. We went to Mel's Diner over in Folsom, and then we had a one last dinner, the last supper, and we said our goodbyes. And I have to be honest, I didn't know if I'd ever see those people in real life again. I hoped I would, but you can never be too sure, right? You can know someone one day, and even if they don't pass, maybe they have passed in your life. So you never know. Appreciate all those interactions you have with people, right? But through all these game nights, we've been joking for the past few years of meeting up in person at the exact midpoint of all of us, which we did the math. It's somewhere in New Mexico. We just decided, all right, Albuquerque. But because we're all traveling, at the end of the year, we're like, funds are tight, right? So let's try to do something it's not as expensive. And a few of us already live in California, so they were like, oh, let's all go to California. And we did it. We met up last week for the first time in 5 years, and we all hung out. We went and, went to Davis for a little bit, spent a day there. We went to Apple Hill, went to Sacramento, walked around. It was a great time. We even did a escape room in Folsom. Couldn't ask for better things to do, right? But one of the things we also did when we were in Davis was we went to a tiki bar. It was this tiki bar that I've only been to once. Shout out Jess, thank you for showing it to me. And I decided to take them there, and we sat down, all had our drinks, and we got to talking, right? And something I like about this group of friends, I was talking about it with one of them at the last night, is that there's something about this group of friends that you don't really get from the other group of friends. This is something that my friend articulated, but I agreed with. Out of all the friend groups I'm a part of, this one, there's something different about it. And I tried to rack my brain and think about what is it, and the best I could come up with is that they always go along with the bit. And I feel like, even though I feel like that's something I enjoy so much, right? Doing a bit, there's not many people in my life that will riff a bit. You know what I'm saying? But this group, full of 6 people, every single person has the ability to riff a bit in an instance. Again, I can't snap with my left hand. So that's why I think there's something different about this group. I think sometimes in my regular life, right, I'll do a bit or like a joke or something, and it'll get 2 responses. One of 2 responses. Someone will laugh and be like, oh, okay. Or someone will be like, I don't get it, and then move on. In both cases, they just move on. But with this group, we will sit and discuss something ad nauseum until it is beaten to death or 10 times funnier. Usually the second one. And this is one of those discussions we had. We were in that tiki bar, all about a drink deep, and I decided to throw this one out there. I said, all right, guys, we're playing a lot of would you rathers, hypothetical situations. What about this one? And I said, would you let the world end tomorrow, or would you kick a baby that can't feel it in the head and let it be broadcasted to the world where everyone would know you forever as the baby kicker, as a monster, to say it casually? And we went through and did all the thought exercises. It was about a 25 to 30 minute conversation we had about this. And again, we reached the same conclusion that the Africa bunch reached too, which is, yeah, kick the baby. Except one person. One person was like, no, I don't think we should do it. And it's like, what? No, you don't get it. The baby doesn't feel anything. But they explain their reasoning, and yeah, I can see an argument to where you don't kick the baby. And in turn, you let the world die. And it's kind of just a subset or like a derivative of the trolley problem. And the trolley problem was also brought up in Africa. There was a member of the group that he posited the question to me, and I realized, oh my God, I don't even have an answer to the trolley problem. You know the trolley problem? The classic conundrum, right? You're driving on a railroad track, or there's like a cart or a train going down this railroad track, and right now, it's on track to run over 30 people. This is the example we used. It's going to run over 30 people, or you could flick the switch and it's only going to run over 1 person. What do you do? And there's, a lot of different options you can go with here. I didn't have a real answer, so of course I went with a joke answer. That's what I do. Humor is my cop-out. When I don't want to answer something, I'm like, all right, let's make this a joke. Except in school, I don't know why my teachers didn't find all my jokes funny. They just gave me bad grades. I was like, no, you guys don't get the bit. See, if only you knew this group of 6 friends, you would know that you're supposed to riff my bit. And they're like, you're failing at what you're doing. So you're going to actually have to be on academic probation, or we're going to have to find something for you to do. Maybe switch majors because this is not working out. I was like, all right, whoa. Are you doing a bit now? Wow, you're really committed, aren't you? But I don't have an answer to the trolley problem. The joke I told to that Africa group was that, you know what I'd do? I'd let it run over the 30 people. Then I'd find a way to make that train come back and run over that 1 person. And then I would go lay on those tracks and let it take me too, because I wouldn't be able to live with the guilt of what I had just done. And even one of the people in the group looked at my mom and they're like, did you raise him to think like this? And she was like, fuck yeah. And it's true. That's what I would do in a joke world. But in a real world, I don't know. So that's why I asked this group of friends, this group of smart friends that will always riff the bit, what would you guys do in the trolley situation? And again, varied answers, but you hear all the options, right? You just let them run it over, or you switch it and kill the one. But what are you supposed to do, right? The train of thought, pun intended, that I operate from is that if you touch it, aren't you responsible? But then again, the immediate counter argument is that if you don't touch it, you're still responsible because you could have. It's the potential. But It's also Schrodinger's cat. There's so many things on top of this, right? What if I didn't know that the train was going to kill those people? Then it wouldn't be a thing. Those people would be both alive and dead to me. And it wouldn't have been my problem, right? I wouldn't have said anything, so I wouldn't have to take guilt. I wouldn't know about the situation. There's so many crimes going on in the world, but because I don't know about them, right, I'm not responsible. And that's kind of this, right? I didn't know about the train thing until you told me. It's kind of like the game. Oh, how do you lose the game? You think of the game. So boom, you all just lost, right? That's the game. And that's also the game of the trolley problem. If I don't know about it, I'm not responsible for any of it. But the moment you implicate me in it, right? Now I'm responsible. You're basically saying, all right, do you want to kill 30 people or one person? And you're making me responsible for one of those options. And it's not fair. But with the kicking the baby situation, it is your choice. Again, it's the same thing. You're set up with two bad things, and they're like, pick one. But the reason that this question was put forward on a dating show is because the girl was trying to figure out if the guy would do the right thing. And you're like, wait, Gauruv, but you just said both are wrong. Right. And left. This is my left, actually. Yes, it is. And I can't snap with this hand. But I know the answer. If someone was to ask me that on a date, I already know what answer I would give. It's a simple answer. I would ask them, all right, so you're basically saying, would I let everyone die or sacrifice myself for the greater good and kick the baby? If that is what you're asking, it seems like the only right answer is, out of love, I would kick the baby for the greater good. And I know that that's what you're supposed to say on a date. Is that the right answer? No, if you're not on a date. But on a date, of course. Because it shows that you're an altruistic gentleman, right? Chivalry's not dead. You can still kick babies. So I know that that's the right answer. But if we actually think about it, what is the right answer? Are you supposed to kick the baby? Are you supposed to let the world die? And then everyone gets into, the nuance of it. It's like, well, how do you know the baby doesn't feel anything? I'm like, it's a fucking hypothetical question. I don't know that the world's going to die tomorrow either. They're both made up. But the thing I've been giving people as kind of a cop-out, again, go to humor when you don't have a real answer. I just tell people, you ever see Incredibles? The Incredibles movie? The baby's Jack. He doesn't feel shit. So, and for some reason that's worked twice. Both times people are like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, that's the thing that makes sense? Incredible. Pun intended. So yeah, I'm curious, what do you guys think? Would you kick the baby? Because this has been a very, very prevalent conversation to me, and I now have been a little swayed. I used to be team kick, but now I'm like, if you just let the world die, is that the better thing? And what's funny is, this was a conversation we had on one of the early days that they were here. So for the rest of the trip, we just kept using that as a joke. Anytime we saw something that was like, makes you lose faith in humanity, that old thing, we would always say, more and more, I'm deciding that I would not kick the baby. And that's how inside jokes form. So yeah, that's a little lesson on inside jokes. Why don't you guys just go ahead, turn in your homework at the front, and I'll meet you next week on sarcasm. We'll talk about that, all right? This is Gauruv's Joke School, and I'll talk to you next week. No, that's not the end of the episode. See, I was being sarcastic. Already jumping ahead, just to give you a little flavor of next week. Aren't I just the best? Wow. This is why I like writing my course material. I can let it parlay into the next thing. Wow. It's like those beautiful transitions you hear on Spotify. It goes from the Lorax into Travis Scott, or whatever those combinations are, right? By the way, when I went to Africa, actually when I was coming home maybe, I did watch the Lorax for the first time. Good film. It was nice. And that's the thing, last week I talked about my trip to Africa, and I feel like I was all over the place. I wasn't like the happiest with that episode because I feel like there was just so much to tell you that I didn't know how to do it. So I was just word vomit, and it was all incoherent, and I don't know, I hope it was good. But I remembered certain things that I didn't talk about, and one of the things I built up for like 10 minutes, and I never even said it. The reason I told you about the rabies shot, about the group size that I was in, about these animals that I saw at this botanical garden, was to tell you that one of the members of our tour group would collect acorns and then went down and gave squirrels acorns and let them eat the acorns out of her hand. Like the squirrels would get up, they hold her hand for stability and then go. And I was like, what the fuck? Did you not get the rabies talk? Or maybe you got the rabies shot and that's why you feel so confident. But it's always interesting seeing people interact with wild animals. Or as we call them, other humans. Welcome to Gauruv's Deep Talk. This is where we talk about never mind. But that's one thing I forgot to tell you. I built it up for 10 minutes and I didn't even tell you about it. That's how bad I feel like last week's episode was. And you guys did a good job on likes though. And you did watch it because I think the thumbnail was probably interesting or something. But yeah, I wasn't too satisfied with it. Like I recorded it, I was like, yeah, that was fine. And then I edited it and I was like, what the hell am I talking about? So yeah, another thing I want to talk about from that is that security, I'm always reminded how different like airport security is in different countries. Like already, when you go international, outside of the US really, all security is so much more lax. The US security, you go through that TSA line, right? And it feels like they're mad at you. And you don't know what you did wrong. All right, put your fucking shoes on the thing. Is your laptop in there? Oh wait, you fucking idiot. Take it out. First time here, bozo. It's like, oh my God. We just met. We haven't even really met yet. It feels like you're just being mean. And then you go to a different country, and it was funny. I was leaving. Oh God damn it! I'm gonna have to pronounce it again. Hoodsprit, right? That one. I was leaving there, and I got in security. They flagged me, so they were like, pull me to a side. And the guy said, how are you doing today, sir? I was like, I'm good. He was like, yes, don't worry. I have a free massage for you today. And then he gave me the pat down. He was like, yep, you're all good to go. I was like, that was infinitely more enjoyable than any security in the U.S. Gauruv security is not supposed to be enjoyable. They're doing their job. They're protecting this country. Well, yeah, that doesn't mean you can't have a little bit of fun, right? You need that to break it up a little bit, right? That's why it's nice when you go to customs or even the normal TSA security where you give them your ticket or your ID or whatever. It's nice when they make a little joke at the end, right? Or like, have fun on your trip. They don't have to. It just injects a little bit of humanity in it and you feel like, all right, oh, okay, cool. I just talked to a person, not like an unfeeling robot. And yeah, outside the US, they're so dope. Everyone's just like, oh yeah, safe travels, have fun. And the US, they're like, why are you leaving? I don't know. I'm just going to go home. You're good. You're right. I don't deserve time off. You and my manager, you must have talked, right? Because why the fuck should I go anywhere? You're right. I should just, work is paradise and I should live it 7 days a week. You can burn my passport. I don't need it. I'm going to go back home. Sorry, home, paradise. I'm going to go back on vacation because I was already on it. Sorry. That's how it feels. They look at you and you're like, what? What did I do wrong? What could I have possibly done? So yeah, that was another thing. I was reminded of how fun security is outside the US. And then coming back to security, there was a lot of yelling. Empty your pockets, laptops, and electronics in the box. I'm telling you this before, so this is a seamless process. One person said, you're not here all day, but we are. So don't make us take longer. Take your stuff out of your bag. I was like, what? So you're going to be here a fixed amount of time. If anything, our proactiveness would make it go faster for us. You're still going to stand there. The amount you don't get, your shift isn't 50 people go through. Your shift is like, 5 hours or whatever. So that doesn't even make sense. But I'm not going to argue with security in an airport. I'm very receptive to security. They pull me aside and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I probably deserve it. Go ahead. Take out every snack I own and just throw it on the floor. That is the right thing to do. It's security guard. They're doing their job. I'm sorry. I support our troops in blue, the TSA workers. I feel like TSA is what happens. That's not even a good joke. I'm just going to ditch it. Oh, no, Telegarv. No, it's not worth it. All right, fine. I'll just tell you because I also don't like when people start a thing and then they don't say it. I was going to say TSA workers are basically what the world would be if we didn't have therapy. But it's like we do have therapy available and people still suck. So like what am I talking about? Also, it's not a very interesting observation. Yeah, the group of angry people, everyone would be angry if we didn't have this thing that made people less angry. What is that? Is that anything? It's not. It's garbage. But yes, it was great to see a group of friends in person after 5 years. It was a weird feeling. Even we hung out and I was driving home after and I could feel every mile I drove back home. I could feel the camaraderie leave my soul. It's such a high to operate on. And then to go back alone, I live alone. So to just go back to an empty place, it feels so weird. Because you operate at this like hang out with your favorite people in the world for like what 4 or 5 days, and then boom, you're like just me, which is nice. I like being alone, right? But when you operate with a bunch of other people, that's like a new high it's established. When I'm around other people, sure, I like to sneak a little alone time. Like, don't tell anyone in this friend group. But there were 2 times in the trip when we were like out somewhere. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I didn't go to the bathroom. I mean, I went to the bathroom, but like, I just kind of stood there. Just because I like being alone, I missed everything, right? I like being alone knowing that there are people that are out there for me, kind of thing. But like when you're just alone and there's no one waiting for you, that's lonely. So yeah, I just needed a little like social breather, right? A little recharge, a little battery exchange, and that's why I took those. It's not because I don't like any of them. That's just also true. No. It's just like, it's nice to take a little breather and then be like, all right, like kind of re-up on socializing. So that's the thing. I like hanging out with people. I think I'm a introvert, so like I do recharge alone, but still being by yourself feels lonely. Even if you're recharging, being alone feels lonely, and that's true. Being alone feels lonely if there's no one else around, but like within proximity. Because in the bathroom, they didn't follow me in, right? I didn't invite them, but I still knew they were there. So I wasn't alone. It's kind of like the whole Robin Williams quote where it's like the loneliest you can feel is when you're surrounded by people or whatever and you still feel lonely. Like that's the saddest thing. Because you can still be surrounded by vapid, hollow assholes and not feel like you're in company because you're not. You don't feel like any of those people see you. And that's what this group I think is also so special about them. They make you feel very seen. And I think that's the surface level observation is they riff your bit 24/7, but I also think they're very intelligent people. I feel like I walked away from the weekend like a better person. And that's something I've been trying to intentionally do. Hang out with people where I leave feeling energized. I feel like I have hung out with a lot of people where we'll hang out and then we, depart and I am just exhausted. And it's like, oh yeah, I always tell myself, oh, I like that. I'm glad I had that. But I'm always tired and I feel like I'm always a worse person after I hang out with them. So I've been trying to like reduce that and just try to hang out with people that like you feel like they're making your life better. I'm big on energy. Oh great. I don't like being sincere, so let me try to do this in passing very quickly. See, I can snap with this left hand. Oh, it's my right hand, right? But I read this book recently, and I forgot what book it is, but they talk about energy, where it's like you have to prioritize energy so much. And something that I've even done to make a big change is on the weekends, right? I would sometimes go on a 2-mile walk, do all this stuff, come back, and I would leave recording and editing videos to like the end of the day. And that's why I would never like doing it. I don't even really like doing it now. I like doing it, but like it takes a lot of time and energy. I like recording. I don't like editing. So I would leave it to the end of the day. And I would always just put it off because I don't have the energy. I was like, all right, Gauruv, think about this like a stupid person. You need energy. When do you have the most? In the beginning of the day. So something I started doing on the weekends is first thing when I wake up, I'll go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, fine. but I will edit for 1 hour before I do anything else. That way I already have that win, and I know I can do it because I have the energy. And it's been a game changer. That's why I've been uploading more videos recently, just because I've been putting in more time to edit. And that, I think, I've been trying to apply to people, where it's like, who gives me the most energy? I'm basically just trying to like maximize energy, which is like giving me the ability to do other things. It's not changing the things I'm doing, it's just allowing me to do them. And that's been the problem so far. I haven't had that energy. And then it translates to other stuff in life too, right? Whereas like you're around all these energy draining people, I feel like you're not looking forward to stuff you can do. I don't like any of this. I don't like anything I'm saying. I agree with everything I'm saying, but I don't like talking sincerely, because sincerely, who gives a fuck? That's why it's tough for me. Even I think I felt weird about last episode is because it was me talking about vacation. I don't want to talk about, it's fun to talk about vacation, but I know that no one likes to hear about someone else's vacation, right? Because you didn't go on it. Why the fuck do you care? Sure, you can tell interesting stories and get people hooked, and then now they're in on it, right? They care about something you care about. But there's a lot of people that I run into, they just talk. And I'm like, what the fuck is in it for me? Not that there should be something in it for me, but like, you understand the dynamic here, right? Like, that's what's kind of tricky about this podcast sometimes. I get in my head a lot because I'm like, who the fuck cares? Because objectively, you shouldn't. None of you should really be listening to this. If you think about it. Because this doesn't really give you anything. It does. All right, I'm not going to be blind to that. I know that some people find this entertaining, and maybe there's something you can take away from this. I don't fucking know. But, so I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do the self-deprecating thing where it's like, yeah, I don't know why people listen to me. I'm just little old me. What do people see in me? I know, I understand there's value here, a little bit. But I don't understand, like, I feel like some people, the way they talk, it comes off as like, I feel like it seems like they think it's super interesting, and it's usually not. And so I don't want to fall victim of doing the same thing. I don't want to seem like I care deeply about this thing I'm talking about, and that you should care deeply just because I do. So I try to acknowledge that, no, this is ridiculous that we're talking about. None of this makes sense, does it? Do you understand what I'm saying? Let's go back to the talking about vacation example. Why do people, when they talk about vacation, sometimes it feels like they feel like the listener is as engaged as they are, but it is never the case. I genuinely, and I will say this with my whole heart, we should not kick the baby. But besides that, we should, no, I am still team kick baby, but I see the other side. I think there's 100% chance that the person talking about their vacation will always feel more enjoyment from the retelling of it than the person they're telling. Do you know what I'm saying? So I always operate from like, oh, the listener is already in a losing position. You have to win them over. And I think that's why I try to use humor so much, because like, I don't get what's in it for you. So I'm trying to give you something so that it can be enjoyable for both of us. And that's why I like bits, because it's a way to be like self-aware about what we're doing. Because I've met people that they just fucking talk about their vacation. I'm like, is there any part of you that realizes that I don't give a fuck? Like, I'll listen to you because I love you and you're my friend, but like, I don't actually give a fuck objectively. And when they can acknowledge that like, this is a ridiculous thing we're doing, like just talking about ourselves, it feels more approachable, like you're meeting each other halfway. It like exhibits a level of self-awareness when someone uses humor and acknowledges like, oh, I know I'm going on for a while. Like when people drop in those little things where it's like, I know I've been talking for a while, but you know, you and me, we both love that. So I'm going to keep talking. That even, they're going to keep talking, keep doing what they're doing. But that acknowledgement that they're going on for a while, it almost is like me stepping away to a bathroom when I'm socializing with people. It's like a refresher. It's like a recharge. You're like, oh, that's nice. So you realize that this is kind of a crazy thing that's happening, but you acknowledging it makes me feel like engaged again. Cause I'm like, at least you know. I get tired because it feels like I have to do all the caring when I listen, right? But when they kind of take that burden off and they're like, I know you don't care about this, I'm like, oh, thank God. Keep going. But at least you can acknowledge that, like, I don't care as much as I think I should. This all sounds bad. What is this guy on about? Wait, so Gar, what's the takeaway? We should stop listening to your podcast? Oh, no, that's not what I said. That's hold on now. Let's pump the brakes. I see how you got there, but let's just reel it back. So yeah, that's what I struggle with. I feel like it's like talking so much about myself, which is tough with this podcast because that's all I'm doing. But I feel like the humor makes it to where like I'm giving you and I both something out of it because I enjoy the humor and hopefully you do too. Because at the base level, I feel like both of us don't give a fuck about the real story. You know what I'm saying? I think I talked about this exact same idea like years ago in this episode. It's titled like what? Having a conversation is like eating a salad. Because I feel like everything that people say like is like eating a salad, but it's the croutons that keep you going back. And I think a lot of times people don't throw enough croutons. So I'm like, how the fuck do you expect me to eat all this salad? That is far too much kale, good sir. You need to give me something, right? You need to make it worth it for me. This is basically just the idea I talk about in that episode again, but through another context, which is like vacation. Because who the fuck gives a shit? But yeah, it was great to see those folks, you know, the gang all together again. And I hope I didn't bore any of them with anything I said, right? No, I know we all were cool with each other. So that's one of those instances, right, where like I feel like no one feels like they're burdening anyone. Burdening anyone. I don't know. I leave every social situation feeling a little guilty because I'm like, you talk too much. What are you doing taking up airspace, bud? But I'm better at like checking myself now because I'm like, no, you're fine. It's whatever. They like you. And if they don't, just believe they do. I don't know what I'm on about now. See, this is very reminiscent of like the early podcast episodes where I just get in my head a bunch and then I make no progress. But now I think the solution is just acknowledge these things, understand that that is a thought process you can have, and then just move on. So yeah, that being said, don't go around just telling people about your travels because you're holding them hostage. That's the thing. Sometimes it does feel like that. You're just talking and you can see the life leave from their eyes and you're like, oh yeah, you don't care. And that's the thing. I don't care either. I don't really care to tell you the story. If you want to hear, I care if you care. So let me know. Like when people ask me about vacation, there's sometimes when I can tell, oh, they genuinely want to know because maybe they're thinking about going somewhere too. And then like, this is actually helpful. But then there's sometimes when people just ask as a nicety, right? It's proper etiquette just to be like, oh, you went on a trip. How was it? But I try to watch the eyes very clearly, right? It's like the non-verbal, it's the body language where like, if I can tell they're starting to dip, I'm like, yeah, I'll dip too. Like I'm not committed to telling you this. I'll only tell you this if you're interested. So that's kind of a microcosm of this podcast, right? Because I'll only keep doing this if you guys are interested. So to make sure you're interested, make sure to leave a like on this episode or else I won't know you're interested. And that's the thing. I think that's what happened last time I left is that I gauged the interest of the audience. It wasn't there. And I was like, all right. So yeah, I'll leave. If you guys don't want this, I'm good too. Like I'll dip. But no, I'm coming at this with a little different mindset where it's like, I would like this podcast to be a thing. So whether or not there's like severe interest, I'll keep doing it. So don't worry. I'm not going to dip again like I did. And this is the 21st, I think, episode in a row, consecutive episode. And thank you guys so much for the support. Guys have been there throughout all 21 episodes, but make sure you just keep liking, commenting, and yeah, just letting these episodes play in the background. What was that last part? And yeah, tell your friends, sign on to their computers and subscribe for them. What's up? What was that? Now there was two things you said at the end there. Yeah, and those will be the last things I say in this episode. So make sure you like, subscribe, and I will talk to you next week. Okay?